Welcome to the Creative Tools Podcast. My name is Ashay, and I'm immensely passionate about using technology for creativity. On this podcast, I talk to various creators about what tools and technology they use to be creative. My guest today is Nikitha Yelchuru. Nikitha is a quilling artist living in San Jose, California. She makes unique and ethical paper-based artwork and jewelry. Her engineering bent of mind has always been inspired by the beauty of Mother Nature's patterns, from the intricate whorls of flowers to the elaborate symmetry of mandalas. Using recycled paper to bring her bright and colorful ideas to life, she began creating paper quilled jewelry in 2012, and in 2016, Paper Sweetly was born. Her passion is to create thoughtful, customizable, and ethical art that is a pleasure to gift. Hey Nikita, thanks a lot for visiting my podcast.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, my first question is, what do you create?
I make illustrations and jewelry using recycled paper. And I use ancient art form called paper quilling.
Hmm. So, have your creations always been physical that someone can touch, or you also create something digital as well?
I do sometimes because I need sometimes I'd like to create digital patterns, and I like to start working with paper later. I just want to see how it will look on paper, the imagination, the thing I imagine. I'm just curious to see how it look when I start working on it. So I do create digitally, but I don't know much about it. But I have people who can help me with that.
Great. Okay. So I want to section this podcast into three different parts.
Okay.
First is pre-creation. So before you start creating, what happens and how, what tools do you use? Then for the actual creation and the post creation. So after the creation is done, what do you do? So let me first focus on the pre-creation aspect, which mainly revolves around inspiration. So how do you record the inspiration that you get, and how do you retrieve it when you want to create from that inspiration?
So, usually when I travel, I take lots of inspiration. And my phone, I used to use like an Android phone, which didn't support all the work I need to do. So I later switched to iPhone, which is currently like amazing using that. So I like to take videos, pictures. Like sometimes I need to go very detail about the inspiration, like flowers. If I'm taking pictures of flowers, I really need to like go get the real details of it. So I use my camera a lot. If you see my phone, I don't see any personal pictures. All I have is like nature, inspiration, like instruments, anything you see. I'm very good at observing, so I observe very tiny things, whatever I do. So I like my phone is always with me. I like to capture videos, pictures a lot on my phone. That's I use that a lot for my process, like creation process. Yeah.
So you just mentioned that the earlier phone that you had did not support what you wanted to do, and that's why you switched. So what did it not support?
Uh, it used to hang on me like because I record so much stuff
Hmm.
and I try to like merge two things and see how it would look like. So some complicated apps or some kind of like if I want to put an animal with with the flowers, like it used to just hang on me. like trying to bring both of them together, creating that. So, and with all the memory I use, even if I purchase more and more memory, the phone is not able to handle it. Like it just hangs on me. So I'm like, I was an Android person totally, but for some reason I never looked into Apple products. But I was suggested by a lot of people, even while using for social media. Like I have to create reels to get notified on social media.
Hmm.
So for to create reels, like I use lots of apps. So this all for during the creation process, I would create a reel and I try to post it, it just doesn't go through. So I had to switch to Apple now.
Okay, great. And then you mentioned something about compositing two images together with some applications. Is it part of your inspiration process or is it part of your creation process? Like, why would you want to merge an animal with a flower?
uh I mean, it's kind of inspiration, I would say, and it at the same time it helps with the creation process as well. You know, when I imagine it in my head, it looks really beautiful, but just for me to get confidence that it'll look amazing when I work on paper. So just to get that confidence, I'll because it's a lot of process. Like after creating, if it ends up like, yeah, it doesn't look good, so it's like a lot of time I'm putting in that. So I just want to make sure it looks nice. Like some things, like I've seen my friend got a picture of a bear cub with a flower. So it was very accidental, but it just happened to happen. But I was like, and then I was like, how would lion look with flowers? Like in the wild, it should be around with some flowers somewhere, right? So I'm like, but how would it look? We have always seen lions like aggressive, like hunting kind, but not like the cutest and lovely part of lions. So for me to see that imagination, and I imagine that it looks really beautiful in my head, but I want it to be look like in the paper too. So I just try to merge things like that.
So I understand with your phone camera app, you are capturing photos and videos, but
Mhm.
then which applications are you using to merge these two things together to see,
uh,
to get a previs of your creation?
Yeah, I use InShot. I use photo app. You can actually sometimes remove the backgrounds and put things together. I use VN. VN as well. The one is really good too. Like I use many. Like I install some. I use it for some purpose, and then I uninstall if it doesn't like working for me. So photo app is like something I've been using recently a lot because people sending me like pet pictures and I'm working on pet portraits. Sometimes if I don't want background like the humans in the background of the pet, I like to remove those, and if they want something else to put next to the pup, like I can add that in the app.
Mhm. And then when you record this inspiration, record meaning you take pictures, you maybe merge them, and then you create some previs of your creation. How do you retrieve that information when you are creating? Like, do you tag your pictures?
Yes, I have albums for everything
Okay.
separately. Yeah.
So the albums are with particular tags.
Yes, if they're with flowers, they're just like, and even, yeah, like if I got this inspiration by traveling somewhere like this. Like lupins are mostly seen only in New Zealand. Like there will be like separately in an album, like saying lupins from New Zealand. So they're separated. Like if I don't do that, like I get lost definitely.
Exactly. So that's
Yeah,
exactly what my question was.
yeah,
That usually the moment of inspiration hitting and the moment of creation could be separated by months and years, right?
yes, yes,
So you need a system to retrieve the inspiration when you are creating something.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and I get lost in my inspiration a lot. Like I make films because and because I make films, I watch a lot of films, but I'm not necessarily making films all the time, right? So
yeah.
whenever I'm watching something, if I
You get
I have
idea.
this system of like texting myself, that this
Mhm.
scene seems inspirational, but I have this hard time in getting back to that inspiration when I'm writing a film
Uh,
or when I'm
uh,
creating something. So
yeah.
I'm just curious to know, like, what kind of tricks do you use to make sure that you don't lose your inspiration?
Yeah, I always have everything separated, like in albums, and I don't know if I could use some apps for that, but I take notes of things. I try to go back, and every time I want to make something new, okay, let me check my checklist first, and then I'll probably think what I have to make. So I just try to go back to my notes, and sometimes I write them down, because when I'm sleeping I just get them in dream. I don't want to open my phone, I don't want to open my screen, so I have a notes that's next to me, so I just draw it or write it down, like how what I got in my head. So it's like and albums actually really help, because I mostly rely on photos and videos.
Hmm.
And if this is something like a particular flower, and I have like so much inspiration for, like, in different colors and different styles, so I just organize them separately in different colors. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it like lupins and purple lupins and yellow lupins and pink, so it's like everything is like separately organized, like in albums.
So does it mean that your one photo could be in two different albums?
It could be, yeah. It could be sometimes, yeah, yeah, that can happen.
Okay, okay. Um, and then the notes thing that you just mentioned, which is physical notes in on paper, do you make any effort at all to move them to digital, or you keep it on paper?
Oh no, I like to keep things on paper. I feel like we don't lose them, and I don't believe in technology. You never know when everything gets erased. So I mean, you know, sometimes the phone gets shut down on me. Like, you never know. I like to keep books as separate, and this one too. Both of them at the same time, but sometimes both of them don't have the same information.
Correct.
But yeah, I still like to keep them separate. Yeah.
Hmm. Very recently, so I used to always write notes digitally. Okay.
Okay.
But then what used to happen was I would open my notes app, I write something, then I close it and then open Instagram, like do something, so just while away time, right?
Yeah.
So very recently I started like writing stuff down
Okay.
on a notebook. Like I have like a creative notebook thing. And
Yeah.
then and then what I do is every single day, uh, I write I write my ideas every single day, and then I let's say today I wrote like 4 ideas. Then
Mhm.
tomorrow, when I get new ideas, I rewrite the ideas that I wrote from yesterday in today's list, and then write the new ones. So
Oh.
that way, first thing is I revisit the idea that
Oh yeah.
I visited yesterday and see if it still makes sense. And
Uh-huh.
another thing is I don't lose it. Like so it keeps on adding,
Adding.
and then it forces me to take action on it,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah, that's actually really great idea. Thanks for that. Maybe I'll start doing that. I'm gonna copy you in this.
Yeah. Um, and so another thing for the Photos app that you mentioned, you separate them in albums, and then so then your work that you do, your creations that you do, are they usually like personal efforts of expressing what you are feeling at a certain point, or is it like a commissioned work that you work, and then for that you have like separate albums?
I do both. People give me commissions only by seeing the real work I make, right?
Hmm.
So I like doing both. Actually, mostly it depends on my current mood, even the colors picking and everything, the patterns, the colors, and what I want to, like. If I can create Buddha like in different forms,
Hmm.
but if I am creating a meditative Buddha illustration, that means I'm very peaceful inside myself.
Hmm.
So it can reflect like in any ways. And commission work is usually they are mostly names, couple
Okay.
names or family names or some words. It's usually just those. But some very rarely I get commissions on animals,
Hmm.
but they mostly reflect. They mostly ask me to the same one I created, but in different colors.
Hmm.
So and every time someone asks me, can you create this for me, I have illustrators who work for me.
Hmm.
I can do the illustration, I can learn it, I can do it, but I have so much on my hands. I just don't want to spend more time on it. And also, I would like to support different artists as
Hmm.
well. So I give the other illustrators, like I sit with them, I tell them what my idea is, and they just keep creating it for me until like they reach that point of my idea. So but then mostly usually animals or stuff like that are mostly from my previously created pieces.
So, the illustrations that you are talking about are how are they different than your quilling
Oh, they
creations?
digitally illustrated for me.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
I can do a little bit of it, but I'm not really perfect in that way. Who are like there are multiple things like I said, I want to support others like who are like just upcoming illustrators. I don't really pick who are already
Hmm.
established artists, but who are really striving to come forward. Like I go to them, I'll ask them, do you want to make some for me? And I just talk to them. They and one way that part is off my hands. Like sometimes like around this time of the year it's so busy, it's super busy. I have orders like I still need to deliver like in a week or so for the Christmas. So I can't take everything. So at that time I think for them also it's a good opportunity to grow themselves and make some money out of it. And for me it's like I can, I don't have to think about it, but I
Hmm.
just talk to them on phone or a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call, video call,
Hmm.
and they create it for me
Okay, great.
digitally. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's move on to the creation part. For creating your art, and let's maybe focus on the quilling art right now.
Okay.
Um, so I will tell you my experience of creating, and then you tell me if you follow kind of the same thought process or you have something different.
Sure.
Um, so when I make films, I spend a lot of time in pre-visualizing how the film will look, right? Because I want to spend a lot of time in before I spend energy and money and people's time on coming together and filming something. I want to know what I'm signing up for. And I want to know what I'm signing other people for. So I draw a lot of storyboards, I write a lot of stuff, and then while writing, while spending that time with my content and my idea, the actual film starts getting built in my head way before the film is actually made on screen, right?
Mm.
And then with that pre-visualization of storyboards that I have, I talk to my team, I talk to my cinematographer, I talk to my artists, and then we shoot media, which is video and audio. And then the process is basically removing stuff so that I can uncover the creation that I am already seeing in my head, right? So two main steps: building a pre-visualize or building a prototype, and then shaping a prototype. That's what happens. So do you follow similar process, or is there something else that you do?
I think that's why we both are called artists. I have the same process. Like I have my head in the back, always thinking about the project I want to make next. Even if I'm watching a film, if I'm cooking, like I have 4 or 5 ideas like keep running in my head. And I always keep visualizing them all the time. And yeah, I build a lot just in my head, like
Yeah.
so much. Before I go to my illustrators, even the colors, the style, the flowers, what kind of, I just realized like there is a flower called gardenia. I didn't even know that there's that kind of flower existed. So it's like so many things. Like it looks like rose, but it's a little bit different. But I was like, okay, how can we put this gardenia flower in different colors or in some part of my piece? It always keeps like going in my head, like all the time. And not just one project. I have multiple projects just keep running in my head like all the time, colors, everything. But when it comes to like telling illustrators, right,
Hmm.
I don't know how to tell illustrators which color it is exactly, because some shades doesn't even have names,
Hmm.
color, right? So you can say orangish, sunset orangish color, but there is so much sunset color. It's just not one,
Yeah.
right? So it's so much research. Sometimes the color I see in my head is not at all available anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it's painting, we can mix multiple colors and bring the color out, try like many
Yeah.
sessions. But yeah, I really give hard time to my illustrators, like when it comes to like in the making process, right? I really want, it's so hard for them to get into my head and create the
Yeah.
exact color. So it's like, it's pretty it's a nice process because my head is always creative and it's always thinking about some project. Yes, I follow the same process you said.
But then, how do you previs your creations? Like, what do you do to pre-visualize before you? Digital illustration could be a different thing because digital illustrations are inherently non-destructive. Like, you can undo stuff in digital,
Yes,
right? But then for quilling, you may not be able to undo what you create very easily. So
yeah.
then, in that situation, you would like to pre-visualize things before you put your hands on to the paper. So how do you pre-visualize ideas?
I don't know, it just happens. I can definitely tell, like, if I put this one here, it look nice. If I remove this one here, it look nice. But I don't know how I can tell that. It just happens.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And another thing that you just mentioned, like talking to illustrators is challenge. People often ask me, what is the most difficult thing in filmmaking, right? And then they usually expect an answer related to technology. And what I say is the most difficult thing is making people see the dream that you are seeing, right?
Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because every single person sees the same film in a different manner, right?
Yes.
And if I'm a director, I need to be able to tell them this is what I'm seeing, this is the shot, like think about it. And if they add more value, and that's why it is extremely important to find people who operate on the same wavelength as you, because then they are not just followers, they are value adders, like they
Yes.
add more value to your creation and take it more forward. Because
Yes.
as a creator, I'm inherently like non-decisive. Like I don't want to take decisions. Like I mean, it's like I'm I'm forced to make decisions because I'm the director, but I don't necessarily know what I want. I may know what I don't want, but I
Yeah.
don't know what I want. So
Yeah.
I want someone to help me take these decisions, right?
Yeah.
And then
Make it easier, right?
yeah,
Sometimes.
and then and that's why sometimes I feel lonely, very lonely in my creations, like because and the thing is, in especially in creations where teams are involved, no one wants to take creative decision. Okay,
Mhm.
because the create if you take the creative decision, that's going to end up in the final product, and then you will be responsible for it. And then so people think following a following a creative decision is probably the easiest way out, but then for me as well, I would love to follow, but I can't. Like if I'm a director, I have to make decisions.
Decisions. Yeah.
So that's the most important part of filmmaking, is like how do you make people see the same dream.
Mhm.
um, Great. So and then okay, so then for quilling specifically, you don't necessarily pre-visualize because it is in your head, so it's already visualized. For illustrations, then do you use any particular communication methods or something like that, or some process to let them see what you are seeing?
So I usually have some color palette.
Hmm.
Usually, it's mostly with the colors. The drawing of the sketch is easily done. I talk on calls. We do Zoom calls sometimes. We do WhatsApp video calls sometimes. And yeah, usually mostly on the calls, I explain. I'm pretty bad at drawing with a pen. So even if I draw something, they'll start laughing. That doesn't look like a leaf, Nikki. So it's like, okay, consider this as a leaf. So this should be here, this should be there. So that's how like I explain. I don't know if this is like old school thing, but I like to talk. Sometimes when we are talking, some illustrators, like you said, the illustrators also should be connected to me. They
Yeah.
should be visualizing the same thing I'm visualizing. And they should be as patient as me,
Hmm.
because this doesn't just happen overnight, right?
Right.
So at least to give me like confidence, some just sit right away with their some use Adobe illustration app, I
Hmm.
guess, something
Hmm.
like that. That one, and Apple has something too, like uh, illustration app. So they different people use different ipad on iPads, they just use it. And they do screen sharing sometimes. Okay, Nikki, like we are
Hmm.
doing this, do you think this will look great? Oh yeah, kind of, yeah, we use Zoom calls, and we just do the screen sharing there. And we try to talk it a lot, talk about the illustration there. And then when it comes to colors, like, oh my God, you won't believe, like people have so much color, different color palettes. This is where I'm like, okay, I imagine totally different, but I have more choices now, right? So it's like every time I tell them a shade, and they keep changing the shade to different levels and different. I mean, it's still again on those apps,
Hmm.
which makes it easy. But sometimes I just don't use digitally illustrated work as a background for my quilling.
Hmm.
After all that work they did, I'm not using their piece.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm just using their outline and the color format, but I'm not really using their piece.
Hmm.
I'm like totally doing it with paper, end of the day. So it's like um, we communicate a lot mostly on video calls, Zoom,
Hmm.
and illustrations they keep sharing like on WhatsApp, the
Okay.
picture or email mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Now let's move on to the post creation part. And there mainly want to talk about social media. So you mentioned, you alluded to, you create reels and you create posts. So I want to know about that a little bit. So how do you keep yourself consistent on social media?
Oh my God, it's so hard. It's so hard. I don't know when a reel blows up. I don't know why this reel doesn't get place at all. It's so hard. I used to early in the this year. I used to post every day, and I used later
Hmm.
uh, to do the automatic posting.
Yeah.
But end of the day, you have to do the work. It doesn't pick
Correct.
a picture from your phone and just post it,
Correct.
right? You
Correct.
have to pick a picture, you have to do the write up, and you have to like make hashtags and everything.
Yes.
But
Yes.
initially it was just, I think it's still just post but not any videos. So it was pretty hard for me to like keep it, because I'm not at all, I don't have like so my personal social media at all. So like keeping consistent with that is like pretty hard. I did it when I have time, because in the beginning of the year I don't have many shows, and I it's like
Yeah.
my creation time mostly. So I had some time there. But now I just, and it's hard, like if you want to post one new thing every day, how can you create one new thing every day? I don't know how this world is running. Like you're always creating something. No, that's not how it works, the creator's life, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really hard, and I have some automatic apps like that just post things.
But I mean, even with those automatic apps, like later, let's say, you
Mhm.
still have to decide when you want to post, right?
Yes.
It's not going to give you that option. Plus, you need to create your post text, you need to create your hashtags, you need to add your image, you need to clean up your image to upload
Oh
it.
my
It's
God, the photo editing, everything, so much. And people steal your images, people steal your work, they just post it as yours. So you have to like write your name or business
yeah,
name on it. There's so much. I had dealt with so many people stealing my pictures and they just
really.
posted as their own. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, it's really hard. Like I use hashtag app website to create hashtags, but
Okay.
they're not always like they're not always related to the post sometimes. So I have like multiple website. I pick hashtags.
So then these hashtag websites that you mentioned, how do you create hashtags from your text or from your image?
Yes, from my image, what my piece is saying, what my
No, no, no.
piece.
But my question is like, do you upload image and then it gives you hashtags?
Oh no, 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 no! I have to give it a word.
Ah, that's what I'm saying.
I
Okay.
wish it works like that. That's
Okay.
so easy.
Right.
Yeah, maybe someday that'll happen too. But it's just like I have to give it a text if I'm like making a bunny, like bunny art. Like it
Right.
is like related. Most use hashtags. And it shouldn't be again not like very like every hashtag shouldn't be like a million
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
times used. It has to be like 20,000, 30,000. Like we have to do research like how many posts on this hashtag and we have to pick it. It's so much work. It's just
Yeah.
so.
It's a full-time job. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I people say, "Oh my God, you're so lucky. You just do what you're happy to do." But I wish I'm like I can just only make art, but not
Yeah.
take the responsibility of
So
selling it.
I publish on social media too, just
Uh-huh.
my thoughts, and uh, I think of that as a sine wave, right? So if you have a sine wave, the frequency is your consistency, and the amplitude is the quality of the content. So if you want to maintain the consistency, somehow the quality goes down after a certain while.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know if people get bored or I don't know.
so how do you separate the two? I think that's the key. Like how do you separate the two that you don't have to worry about the consistency and all you worry about making the art? Because I love creating the art, but
Yeah.
I don't. So it's like this, right? I always say that there is a difference between productivity and creativity. So
Mhm.
productivity is all about destinations, like how fast you reach there. So
Mhm.
publishing a post is a destination. It's
Yes.
a productive work.
Yes.
Creating the content for the post is a creative work, right? So it's a journey between that destination. So I love the journey. I don't necessarily enjoy the destination. So that's a huge challenge for me too. Um, so another question I have is, how do you catalog your creations? Like, do you keep like a record of everything that you have created somewhere in some format?
I use Dropbox. Still,
Okay.
again, I make multiple folders of it. I don't have any printed catalog of it. I think
Hmm.
website is just a catalog of your work. I don't remove anything if I sold something. It still stays there.
So has it ever happened that your earlier creation was inspiration for your next one?
Yes, it does. Like sometimes, I mean, you make it definitely better.
Yeah,
But you look at it and I'm like, oh my God! And if I make it now, I think I can make it much better.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, sometimes for colors reference, I go back.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah,
So
you
how do you find your earlier creation with that folder system in Dropbox?
yes, with the folder system, and my laptop also have like all the artwork I make like separated in folders, like year
Hmm.
wise, name wise,
Oh, okay, okay.
everything like subcategories or so. So if I like to go back and see what all I made, like how much I have grown like over the years. So I keep going back.
And then these reels that you mentioned, how do you which what tools do you use to make these reels?
InShot.
In short,
InShot
okay.
app. I purchased it for a lifetime, I guess. So I have that for create mostly editing videos. I just use InShot. There are many new videos
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
apps.
But then then video editing is another headache. So how do you make sure you gather the correct content and then put it in that video? Like how,
That
what's your
that's
process?
that's again another kind of creativity, I would say. Now I feel like I'm a filmmaker now after making all these reels.
Yeah. So these days you can't just be a creator. You have to be a creator, a video editor, a
Yeah.
content maker, a social media person, marketing person. Like you have to learn all of these
Yeah,
skills, right?
so much. Like you need to know software, everything like hardware stuff, software stuff, and finances, everything. Like small business people cannot afford like having
Yeah.
an accountant to maintain yourself.
Right.
So it's everything is all we have to do. There are some fun reels on that too. Like I'm the social media content creator, I'm
Yeah.
the manager.
Yeah.
So there are stuff. I've tried ads, everything on social media, whatever I can do. But everything is like different kind of pain.
Yeah. So last question. What is the biggest challenge you face in your creation process? And when I say your creation process, I'm talking right from the inspiration to your marketing. What's the biggest challenge you face?
So I think it's mostly marketing.
Hmm.
I'm very happy with what I'm creating, and people who are like-minded connects to my art. So that is a concept of connection, I'd say there. But getting your work to know to more people
Hmm.
is really like, especially during pandemic, it was really hard for me to survive
Hmm.
because this is my only job I have.
Hmm.
So I was not getting any orders. My best selling right now is at shows.
Hmm.
I give out cards. Cards will be thrown away. So I have come up with a new concept as like, take a picture of my card. They can go back to the photos and maybe
Hmm.
like think about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like so many things. I have to come up with different ideas to like market myself. I have used Facebook ads. I spent more money than I made.
Hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
it's so tough. It's so hard. Like it's initially when I started maybe for 10 cents, I can do an ad. Now it's $3 for ad,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and you're not sure per click you get an order
Yeah.
for that. So it's really hard. Reaching people, especially online, is really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot, Nikita. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much, Ashay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. If you are a creator, I would love to talk with you. Please connect with me through my website or social media. See you in the next episode.